All right. We are live with our Friday office hours. Eric, take it away, brother.
Hello. How is everybody doing? I am joining here today from São José dos Campos, Brazil. We're usually in Florianópolis, but we're traveling today for a very special event for some dear friends from ours, all the way back from grad school. We're at Gainesville, Florida. Go Gators, national champions. So, anyways, that's fun. I'm grateful. I really love my time at the University of Florida, but I am grateful for the mess that real estate has brought into my life because it's a good mess. So, anyways, I miss those days, but I don't miss that lifestyle. And we've got a lot of stuff going. We have got a lake house in Minnesota. For those who are following up on that story, it's going to be a really big sale for that, and all the land is around $3 million, and that's exciting because there's every day we're inching closer. It should be hopefully this month that they give us the final, approval and ability to split them off. We've already had several meetings and things. And then in the short-term loans world of Creative Partners, we are cranking away, getting better systems, our sales and marketing, 2 full-time salesmen. I think we mentioned that last week that are with us, and now with our processes, we're working on getting better dashboards on our Monday CRM and on our Go High Level, better understanding, better metrics, and we're finding more and more people who are a good fit, who need our product and services. So if you put in the work and if you hustle, even if you don't have money, if you just put in the work and hustle to learn a little bit about real estate and then learn how to help people and solve their problems with private money, you can make money and get more financial freedom yourself doing this. So we are grateful for that with Creative Cash Partners. We've also got the kind of side business that we don't spend a whole lot of focus and time on, but with RV parks and some exciting developments and potential new acquisitions, and just grateful for the partners doing a good job keeping them operating while there. So lots and lots of good stuff happening, and I'm grateful for all of you that hop on to talk and for all that are tuning in to listen. I see Aaron Ford has hopped on here, and Kim, how you two doing?
Doing great this morning. Driving, so I've got my camera kind of off because otherwise you'd be staring at my ceiling.
No, that's fine. Drive safe, Aaron. We'll just bug you in an audio way, not in a visual way. What's going on with you, Aaron? What's the latest?
I'm kind of doing some reset right now. I've got a lot of the capital that I have loaned out coming due in the next 60 days. So I'm reassessing where it's at and how I want to proceed. If I want to stay with the borrowers that I'm working with, you kind of get that shiny object syndrome of, is there something better? But I spent a couple hours yesterday just kind of looking at the past, looking at the future, and holding to the ones that I feel are really, really solid, and probably just keep everything condensed to just a couple of people that I work with. Seems to be a safe play.
Yeah, I mean, I can tell you from my experience lending that I think that's wise. I've done some very simple, boring, secure investments and loans recently, which are still a lot higher than what other people think are boring and secure ones. Like, a lot of people, boring and secure is a 4 to 5% high yield savings account or CD or whatever, and then, like, to me, boring and secure is like first position 12 to 15%, which some people still consider super risky, by the way. But in that range of my capital growing, especially if it's not going to be a lot of hassle or headache for me, that's incredible for me. I've done rates that are double that, triple that, quadruple that. I've done rates where it wasn't even my own money. I haven't had just all bed of roses. I've had some major wins, major losses. All the losses were my own fix and flipping or buying my own assets, buying with partners. I've never lost anything lending, but I have had some lending deals where I made over my full year UF salary. I've had multiple of those where I've had my full UF salary paid out to me, not just me plus the profits, like to my profits just from that. And those ones were a massive amount of hassle and headache and foreclosures and lawsuit threats. And it was, we spelled everything out super clearly the way that it was going to be, but it just ended up being an unbelievable amount of hassle. I mean, it's like our lake house property right now. Justin and I are grateful for that and everything we're learning and everything we're doing, but we don't want to be doing that type of thing over and over again. We want to be building a business, because the lake house is essentially a part-time job, right? We don't want another part-time job. So from someone who's been in the trenches of some really, really high profit deals that were horrible energy and time wasters, if you can get even let's call it a 10 to 15% range on your money, you can just sleep well at night, no hassle. Somebody else takes care of it. The money comes back for you. That's incredible. That's something to celebrate for sure.
Yeah, and that's kind of where I'm at. I've got a couple of borrowers that I've been loaning to for over a year now that are 18 to 24% return. And then I've got several others that are, those are annualized. And then I've got several others that are like 15 flat, turning 4 months. But, you just have to pay attention to what is being posted from those borrowers in the community. And you start, I've gotten burned. I think I've shared with you guys a couple of my stories, but you start recognizing the chinks in the armor. And I'm starting to see those pop up on 2 different borrowers right now. And I'm just crossing my fingers that I get out here in the next couple weeks when they're due, before anything starts going sideways with those people, and pulling those funds together and just putting them in the 2 buckets that I know perform, and making that work.
Yeah, that's very wise. Early on, like this was, beginning of 2023, I met some investors who were offering 10% per month, 20% in 2 months, 25% in 3 months, those kind of rates, which is even the next level, scarier and higher return than what you talked about, 15% in 4 months. Even though 15% in 4 months is still, roughly 45% annualized, a sky high rate. Those borrowers seemed golden. They were the ones that were doing about 10% a month or so. They were super, super friendly on Zoom calls. They shared their due diligence and their comps, their appraisals. That they seemed to really be collaborative. Their reasoning was that, hey, the reason I can pay you such a crazy high return is because I'm just getting such a good steep deal. Like, these are USDA foreclosures, and there's only 7 people on this planet that have access to be able to buy these, and I'm one of them, and I just get them for stupid amounts, like 40 cents on the dollar. So it's easier for me to refinance. It all sounds super rosy if you don't know how to really underwrite deeper and understand who they are and everything. Luckily, I did 2 deals with those, with that group, those individuals, and I got out of both of them. They were late both times, but it's like a house of cards that they're paying off people with new investors' money. Their deals actually don't pencil nearly as well as they claim to. And now in a lot of the private money circles that we're in, their names specifically are pulled up, and there's usually a cuss word or 2 with them, because there's tons and tons of people that just got burned, never got their money back. So just to add that, altering perspective, if somebody can give you 15% in 4 months, they're a miracle worker, right?
Yeah.
That's think about that. What if you had a bank account and you could put money into and it would get 15% bigger in just 4 months, right? Like somebody is telling you that they can take your money and they can make it grow by 15%. And not only that, there's incentive for them. They can somehow take that money, put it into some kind of opportunity, make it grow that much for you, and have profit left for them. They're a miracle worker. If they can do that reliably, safely, consistently, like they're buying homes at 30 cents on the dollar, 50 cents on the dollar, whatever. They're doing things that that 99.9% of other investors can't do. So either they're a miracle worker or they're not, and they're going to get foreclosed on, and they're not going to be able to pay their investors back, and they're going to have problems, which is what I have seen. Like I could list probably just off the top of my head over 10 people that I know personally that are doing that kind of operation that other people are investing into or connecting deals to that are not panning out well. So it's really, really rare that you're going to get a rate that high and a top quality investor.
Yeah, you're 100% right. And mostly it's a non-sustainable venture. And that's the pattern I've been seeing with some of these really high claiming return borrowers is, they start really scaling up fast and they start attracting a lot of money to them. And the next thing you know, they're kicked out of the community and they show up on the scammers site. And, there's been two recently that, one guy I've been talking to for almost a year, and I keep wanting to put money with him, but I'm like, something in my gut is like, this is not sustainable. And next thing I know, he's kicked out of both communities, and the comments, oh my God, are just, so many lenders not being paid back. And so it's the sustainability is a really key indicator for me these days. Is it something that can sustain? Just like you're saying, if bank is not going to pay anywhere close to that, where's really the meat?
Yep.
I think a lot of these deals too, Aaron, is people forget to analyze if the loan fee is sustainable with the deal. So just because somebody's promising it, if the property doesn't like, we should be validating that the property has got the ability to deliver the anticipated result. So what I mean by that, sorry, I'm pouring something out for my kiddo. We're spending the day, just the two of us together. My wife's out butchering chickens today, but that's what she's doing.
That's fun.
But like for me, I'll look at a deal and I will deny a deal even if a borrower is like, yeah, no, I really want to do it. I want to do it. And theoretically, the margins are there for at least us to make a profit. But when you start to look at the deal and it's like, between my fee, closing costs, let's assume something goes wrong. There's got to be a contingency. Just some basics there. What's a fair number that should be their payoff? And we should be able to say, okay, assuming that some things go wrong, they still have enough room to make a profit that's worth their while for having done this deal for the last 6 months, 4 months, whatever it is. And if it isn't, I don't care that they want to do the deal. They're about to do a stupid deal, and I'll tell them, no, this is a bad deal and you shouldn't do it. And I'm not doing it, So we'll look at, I don't know if technically, a lot of, so with the flat fees, that's a big difference, right? We defer interest with our loan. That means our loan gets bigger. So it ends up being, hard money that they'll say, well, we'll loan a max of 70%. loan to ARV, right? So the total loan for the purchase and the rehab doesn't exceed 70% of the future value of that property. And that loan doesn't by its intrinsic nature get bigger, right? It does not get bigger. It stays paid down every month. And if it doesn't get paid, it doesn't balloon as fast as, say, these flat fees that we will do in private money sometimes, where we're deferring our payments, where it's all due at the back end. Our loan gets bigger. And so I have a metric called my loan cost to ARV. So how much is this loan costing them against the future value of this property? And what is a reasonable parameter to say, hey, if it's going to cost more than X, we're not doing this deal, period. You know, so I'll even look at too, if somebody's putting a down payment, we have a cutoff. If somebody's putting in a down payment, but my loan is going to cost them 80% of the ARV and they're still putting a down payment, what rational reason do I have to believe that they're going to make any money and they're going to have a motivation to complete this deal? They're not using their brains. Just because, even though they put a down payment, it's like theoretically they put more risk in, right? So now they've got a desire to complete this. Well, no, they might just be fine with walking away with their down payment because this deal sucks, you know? So if your loan is going to cost 80% of the future value, the ARV, or more, you know, our cutoff is 80%. So if our loan's going to cost them 80%, we don't go above that. So if it's going to cost them 85% or whatever, depending on how you look at it, we have a ratio, so it always works out. But if it's going to say cost 85%, well, their closing costs are going to be between, on the lowest end, 3 to 6%, probably closer to 9% when it's all said and done, with a listing agent, buyer agent, and the closing costs. So you're going to be close to 9%. Well, that brings you down to, 91% of your ARV left to work with. So that means a margin of my loan's costing you, if it's 85%, my loan's costing you 85%. You got to pay back 85% of the total value of what you sold. Plus you're going to eat up 9% in closing costs. And that leaves you this small little margin of 6%, maybe. Long as
one little rehab,
one mistake.
Yeah, one little rehab adjustment, one seller's concession where they find something in an inspection and you got to reduce the price, like, and your profits are just toast there. So yeah, people do way too tight deals. The other problem I see too is that, people just have values way off. They claim that, oh, this deal is super secure because it's 55% loan to ARV or whatever, but they're not doing their numbers right. They're way overestimating the ARV and underestimating the amount of rehab it needs. And then one of the worst things is just,
I've only agreed with 3 borrowers this year on their ARV.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, your cost overruns are inevitable most of the time, and you're going to get times where your appraised value, if you're coming out with a DSCR or something, is going to come in low. And if you're that skinny on the deal, you're
going to be done for.
Your lender's not going to get their full return, if any, and then you as the operator are going to be in the negative as well.
Yep. Well, there's I want to tell you guys a story that makes me very, very angry. I feel like I just got to get it off my chest because it reminds me of this.
Do it.
These same operators that I loaned to twice that were late, had a lot of problems. They're now known as like curse words in our community, basically. There was a newbie that joined one of our lending communities, and he was asking me, hey, these guys, this group, they want some money. They're promising a great return. The collateral looks awesome, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, no, don't do it. But I can also give you some hints as to why. And then he started asking some questions and things that were just oh my gosh, makes my blood boil. Like, for example, they were saying he wanted a clean title policy. And of course, like what lender on this planet, except for the weirdest ones, like would not have a clean title policy to do a loan.
Right.
These operators told him, we'll have a clean title policy to you within 2 weeks after closing, after you send the money. And then he asked them, well, what if it doesn't come back clean? And then they said, oh, well, in that case, we'll give your money back. It'll be refundable if the title policy isn't clean. And here was this newbie coming to me like, so does that exist? Like,
No.
I'm like, no, absolutely not. Like, that your money is long gone. There's no such thing as refundable. That this isn't Target where you take back that plush pillow and you're like, sorry, like, here's my receipt, and they give you the money back. Like, it's not refundable.
Yeah.
It just makes my blood boil that these people, like, they're so friendly, they're so professional, all buttoned up and nice on a Zoom meeting, and then they tell a newbie investor, like, we're not going to have a clean title policy. And the only reason they told him that is because he asked. He's like, I read somewhere and somebody had a post saying that make sure you got a clean title policy. So what about that? And those operators are like, oh, well, we'll get you that after closing. Like, man, it makes my blood boil that people are doing that. So, I mean, it's kind of like preaching to the choir in this group, because I think most of us all know this, but we've got to protect and help those newer investors to know, like, don't throw your money at stuff unless you really know how to do a private money loan, because you'll go into it like a negotiation where, like, and a lot of times the rate is a negotiation, like depending on how bad they need the money and like how quick the turnaround is and what happened. Like, in a lot of ways, private money is a negotiation for the rates, but the documents, the policies, the procedures, the closing process, that's not a negotiation.
Right.
Not at all.
Agreed.
Yeah. I'm seeing a lot of people using older comps without making adjustments and saying, well, this market has had a historic trend of X% increase, so I'm not going to adjust down in my comps. And I disagree with yours. And I'll just make a note on this. If you have to use old comps, that's already telling you something about the market, right? So if the latest comp is an old comp, older than 180 days or older than 90 days, frankly, if it's older than 90 days, that's an old comp. If it's older than 180 days, that's a really old comp. If it's older than a year, that's not a comp anymore, and you shouldn't bother investing in that area. Like, that's pointless. And so I'll see, we had a investor that we really liked, came to us and was under the belief that his property was going to be worth X amount, while the nearest and most recent comp was an older one. And he argued with our decision to say, well, we can use this comp that's older than 180 days, but I'm going to adjust it across the board down 10%. I'm going to make an adjustment that offsets the risk that I'm going to choose to use a comp that is reflective of 6 months ago's market. And 6 months from now, that's got to hold. And, a lot of times people forget to they'll look at the historic trend. Oh, it has been trending up. Okay. But if my comp is that old, then I need to look at other data too. So what is my current data? Well, right now, yeah, maybe I need to look at, has the market started to slow? Has there become a surplus of supply to demand? So if my supply right now is there's more houses listed than buyers, you might still have some historic sales that appear that the market officially tipped yet, but it will be tipping. And 6 months from now is what you're planning for. 7 months from now, under it. So it's agreed with him. He had to go into a lender. but I know you're wrong. You're in a market that is starting to shift to higher market, and you're using comps from 6 months ago. It's not reflective of today's environment.
Yep.
Gotta be
Absolutely.
really wise with how you're looking at the data.
Yeah. Thank you for that, Justin, and thank you for that great intro, Aaron. It's important that we talk about it and touch on it often and get that message out as much as we can, because it helps people avoid a lot of heartache and heartburn from bad deals and everything. Kim, I know you hopped on right at the beginning too, and I wanted to say hi, say hello, and hear more about you, what you're up to, what your business is.
Yes. Hi. How are you? Good to
Very good.
be able to sit down and talk. Normally, I'm listening as I'm driving or something. So, but basically, I'm actually trying to do two things at once. I think I had mentioned this before, that I'm buying property in the Midwest, specifically in Illinois right now, in Decatur.
Okay.
Doing the the slow flip model,
Slow flip.
which
I
is
was on the tip of my tongue. I love that.
yeah. So I'm buying. I have 6 properties now. We buy as is, and then we sell it on seller financing.
Yeah.
So I'm always looking. So I'm in the process of I've been using most of my money. I did get a lender on one, so I'm always looking for lenders. So I'm looking for lenders so I can buy more to try and get to my goal this year. But on the other flip side, I have some money that I am looking to lend short term, because I have a Roth account that I'm trying to accelerate, to grow. So and I'm interested in trying to do that as well. So
Yeah, I think that's great. So a lot of interesting things going in there. I have had plenty of headache and hassle from termites, toilets, all the above from my real estate past, and Airbnb, short-term rental, long-term rental, mid-rental. I really love the idea of the people that are paying your rent, even though it's seller finance, it's not really rent. It's just the paycheck that's coming in every month. Those people not only are providing that, but they're also 100% responsible for all the repairs. So for the slow flips of that, has that model after for you, where like it's just men's household, they're taking care of everything for you?
right, yes, and that's because I didn't want to get into, like you said, the tenants and toilets and all that. So
Take care, Aaron.
because because I started before I got into it, I started as a lender to look and see and check out the model and everything, and then I was like, oh well, let me try it. And now, I mean, it's some headaches, sometimes, because we pretty much we're not vetting the people, but I'm starting to vet my people a little bit more, and everything. So but other than that, it's good, once you get it filled and everything. Like I said, you don't they'll call and say, like, I have a guy, he called and there was an electrical problem, and I was like, oh, I'm so sorry, I hope it's not, I'm hoping it's not, a big issue for you, and he was like, well, I'll let you know. And I said, oh, okay, well, thank you. But it's like,
That's like
I feel bad.
ringing up
I
your
feel bad. That's,
it's like
but
ringing up your local bank and saying, yeah, I've been having some electrical problems at my house. I'll let you
right,
know how it turns out. And they're like,
right.
hey, awesome. Like,
Yeah. So I have to learn to get that, not feeling bad and feeling guilty and stuff, because it's like, but I didn't do an inspection. He didn't do an inspection. So it's not like I knew and I didn't tell him, so, but I still felt kind of bad for him, but, so he hasn't called me back. or anything. Because he's like, I'll let you know. I was like, okay. So he must have figured it out or whatever. So
Yeah. Do you mind sharing typical numbers on a slow flip like that? Are these like 30K home buy and then like a kind of similar down, like a 10K down payment from the buyers and then
right.
whatever finance rate?
Yeah, it's 30, usually anywhere from, I've been buying anywhere between 30,000 till 35 was my highest. And the down payment is usually 3,000, you know, you can, and I have one person, the rent is about one person is 925 and the other one was 850 right now. I have two, my other two listings. I got one that I'm getting ready to evict. He was paying like an 875. So I averaging about $900. And it's for 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's super interesting. I would I guess my only thoughts there is I know it's obviously very difficult to do this, but from my kind of risk scenario, I would want to have a higher down payment from them so that they have more skin in the game. And that when they do have oh crap, the water heater leaked and I've got to pay someone to fix it, or I've got to buy a new $500 water heater and $400 for something salt, like whatever it is, I would want my, my buyers to have just a little bit more skin in the game, like 10 or 15,000, so that, they can, like, I'm covered in like, oh crap, if they destroy the house and I've got to redo the paint or the drywall or whatever, I just want them to be more invested and more bought into it. But I know that that's one of the toughest things because there's not people left and right that have 10 or 15,000. They're going to want to live in that kind of house and do that kind of scenario.
Well, I guess the motto is that as is. So we buy as is, we sell as is. So if they come in and if they destroy it, you're supposed to be able to just sell it again as is. And a lot of the buyers are investors. The ones I have right now are not investors, but a lot of the other people in the group, they sell a lot to investors because they do Section 8 and stuff like that. So, but for the most part, you buy as is, sell as is, and most of the time the property, especially if you sell into a family, will usually look better than what it was, but you do get those times that it doesn't. But then you're supposed to just go ahead and resell it again as is. Ask for a down payment, a small down payment, and because in the markets, they you're selling to a certain clientele, so they're not going to have $10,000 because if they have $10,000, they'll buy in a better market, So so basically, you get that 3,000, 2,500, 3,000, and and you kind of that's your security as far as like if you do want to go in, because the houses I buy, I make sure that they're livable, they look pretty good. Some of the people buy, you should see them. I'm like, but they sell. That's the funny thing is that they sell them to somebody, and for me, I want a decent property because I want decent family to come in or somebody to come in, and hopefully when they leave, if they decide to leave, they're gonna leave it pretty decently, and stuff. And so, but yeah.
Very interesting. Have you ever thought about slow flipping land?
I've heard of it and I've thought about it and I looked at it, but I don't know about land. I don't know anything, because I hear that you have to know a lot more than I don't know how to do it.
I interviewed probably one of the main guys who does land, Jack Bosch. I'll send you. I'll put it in the chat here. I had a really good interview with him almost a year ago.
Okay.
He's a land guy. He does have a mentorship where he teaches people. We've actually lent to people who have taken his course and found it to be valuable. and they were darn good at what they did.
Okay.
We did a deal with a couple of land investors in North Carolina, and this one was a little bit more than even some of the stuff he does. Sometimes he'll just find a great deal, doesn't do anything to it, just lists it as a seller finance, and their down payment will sometimes even cover what it cost him to purchase the land, because he's getting at really good discounts. But the folks that we worked with, they took 60 some odd acres and did some very basic work on the land, looked for, made sure that they had the ability to have septic, and met the standards for being able to, subdivide that property. And they work in specific states where it's just really easy to do that. They subdivided it, and I think our loan was in January, and they sold in February or March? It was March. They sold in
Wow.
and it was a solid profit. It was like $500,000 profit.
Wow.
Yeah. So
Wow.
land can
Okay.
be
Okay. Definitely look them up.
it can definitely get you in trouble too if you don't know what you're doing, but it can be really powerful. And he talks about specific instances where he purchased maybe a lot, and he was just, maybe it was like an inheritance, and now they're just paying property tax, and they're like, I don't even know what to do with this thing. Like, it's more of an annoyance to me than a joy. I just want to get rid of it. So for them, their get rid of price is very low. They're like, I just want out of it. So he'll buy it, but it's on the market. It's worth something, and there's people looking for that. And so he'll go and relist it. Their down payment covers oftentimes the majority or all of his entrance into it, and then he's making a seller finance payment. The arbitrage, or on the money there. So it's pretty good.
Okay. That's definitely something I think I probably need to look into. I'm always looking for different opportunities.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
thank you.
Well, it's less toilets and issues in between selling. So if you end up having to take over a property, and then you're like, oh, now this property's got bigger problems, and maybe it's even
Right.
better to sell, then it might be just a nicer intermediary option.
For sure.
Right.
The 3 T's of real estate, right? Toilets, termites, and tenants. I just downloaded. I actually remember that I hadn't listened to your full interview with Jack Bosch. I just had that downloaded, so even offline I can listen to that one, because I want to hear more about it. I think that land is a very, very powerful strategy, especially there's so many families that have just been holding on to land too. For like, I know some families in Florida that got 10 acres or whatever, and they're just holding, like, oh, well, one of these years we're going to build on it or do something. And they're just paying property taxes on it year after year, making nothing.
Yep.
And turn around, and there's somebody else that really, really wants land but can't buy it all cash or pay a down payment. The bank wants a 40% down payment for land or something crazy, or they don't even want to touch it because they might not have like a regular income. Maybe they're a self-employed person that does landscaping, or like whatever. Like, you can take that family and say, hey, give it to me on seller finance so that I can, seller finance it to somebody else and actually make some good use out of that land, instead of just doing nothing and paying the government property taxes on it every year.
Yep.
That's true, because there's a lot of tax liens, especially in Florida, because I'm by a little bit in there, I dab a little bit in that, and it's just people that have this property and just holding on to it, and like you said, just paying the property taxes, and what it is, a lot of times people, especially the regular people, they want to be in real estate, so they just want to say, I own real estate, I think it's just like a pride thing to say, oh yeah, I have some real estate. I got some land here. I got some land there. But they just have it and not making any money off of it, not doing anything with it.
Yeah.
Yep. Kim, let me ask you before I bug Kevin here, let me ask you one more quick question. So what do you need in your business to grow it, to really get you to that next level? What do you need?
Some money to keep on buying my houses, or some opportunities to make my my Roth IRA grow. So both of those are the two things.
Okay, understood. Well, I mean, we can put money to work, so can plenty of other operators. So if you want to talk about that, we can do that. I also think that you are a very talented visionary where you can find good opportunities in slow flips in Illinois or tax sales in Florida or whatever it is. And that's powerful. But I think that, as a visionary, I relate to like wanting to do 100 different things at once. But I wonder if you just had like, okay, what is the highest and best return on my time, my stress, my energy, and my capital, and just hone into one strategy and really take that to the moon as well.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for that advice.
Yeah, no problem. Justin, I give myself that advice often, and Justin reminds me of that advice often because I need to hear that often.
And that is true because I do like to. I was like, oh, let me dab here, dab there,
Yeah.
And instead of dabbing, it's probably better to, like you said, focus on one, so I could put all my money in just that versus a little bit of here, a little bit of there,
Yeah.
and everything.
And
Yeah.
even within the realm of private money, like there's power in getting more focused on what do I do in private money, right? So like for us, because Eric did private money for quite a while, but was also just doing a lot of different things in private money. And each one of those different strategies requires a totally different level of sort of either underwriting or integration or regulation understanding or maybe market awareness. So when you start to really hone in on what you do specifically in private money, it's powerful. And it was hard, like even when we first started, Eric and I both, even as the integrator where I want to focus it down, like initially our value proposition was wider, right? And it was pretty much, if you have a deal, we'll look at it, we'll figure out whether or not it makes sense. It became very hard to say no to anybody. And being able to get to a point where you can say no confidently is actually really, really good for your business. Like being able to say, yeah, no, we don't do that. If you have somebody you can point them to, that's powerful too. But even if you don't, just knowing that, nope, sorry, we don't do that. Our first no was California and New York. So that was a no that Eric figured out. He's like, nope, we don't do California or New York, period.
Yeah.
Nope.
Yeah. Most definitely not.
We have a lot more no's now in our company where it's very clear. We know that we don't do that.
Right.
And then like just taking some of Alex Hormozi's story, if you haven't heard him, he's got tons of free, podcasts, books, lots of great entrepreneurship material. He went from nothing to 100 million just from his ability to do sales and marketing and run a business well. He had like 6 or 7 different businesses going at once. And he just said, you know what, if I just focused on one and got rid of everything else, what would happen? And that's when he went from pretty much broke to millions, is when he got rid of all of his 6 or 7 businesses except for the one that he knew that if he only focused on that, it would be the most promising. And related to that as well is I see him giving advice to other business people where he's like, even when they're at the point where Justin and I are, where we've narrowed down our product is incredibly specific. This is what we have to offer. If it's not this, then we're not doing it. Like if it's not in our 4 states, if it's not our first position, short-term debt, like, we're not going to do a 5-year private money loan on a restaurant in Las Vegas. No, we're doing residential real estate, first position in these states. Our product is narrowed down. But even though that's true, there's even a next level of focus above that, which Alex Hormozy talks about, where other business owners and people, he asks them like, well, who are you serving? Like, okay, so he says, you've got your product super locked down. Who are you serving? People will be like, oh, well, some of my clients are middle-aged moms of several kids. Some of my clients are younger women. Some of my clients are 40-year-old guys. Some of my clients are health instructors, like whoever, you know, like if they're selling a supplement or a fitness product, like whatever. And he's like, okay, well, you've got all these different people. Like if you just focused on one group of people, which would be the easiest people for you to do your business with to really grow that? And that's something at Creative Cash Partners that I've been craving for a while. That's very, very difficult to do, but that we're gaining more clarity and we're working towards the more sales and marketing we do. It doesn't mean that I'm going to turn somebody down. If somebody's a fit for my product and they come to me and they want to do a deal, then yes, we'll do it. The difference is, where is my focus? Like, I'm not, if I've got, let's call them like, you know, wholesalers could use our product, or middle of the road fix and flippers, or maybe even like real estate agents or people who have a full-time job. Like there's all sorts of different sub avatars and subcategories of people who could benefit from our private money lending product. Once we nail down even more specifically, who is that avatar that just most quickly resonates with us, is ready to close a deal, ready to do that, those are the only people that we're going to focus on running after, chasing them down with phone calls, emails, Facebook ads. Like we're going to focus specifically on that avatar and that person. Anybody else who wants to do business, they've got to come to me, because I'm not going to chase after them, right? That's even the next level of focus, is not just that your product is focused, but that your target and your avatar is focused.
Right. That's true. That's true. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Kevin, how you doing?
Better than average. How are you?
Yeah, that's good.
Just here soaking up the wisdom from Kim and you and Justin. So
That's good.
just a sponge today.
Yeah,
Awesome.
I hope you don't mind me sponging off your.
no, we love
it. I feel like a fly on the wall, so that's okay.
No, we're glad that you're here, and I'm not sure how many people are tuning in live that aren't on the Google Meet, or that are gonna watch this later. But anybody who's getting value out of this, that's the goal, is just hang out, enjoy each other's presence for a little bit, and give each other value.
Absolutely. I subscribe to being a marketing guy by my normal business that I run is all those things you just said are super true. It's so much harder to attract a broad audience than a narrow one. And it costs you a lot more to attract a broad audience than a narrow one. So, you know, really drilling down to who is really not your customer, it's who's your best customer.
Yeah.
All right. Because there's a lot of people that could be your customer, but it doesn't mean they're the kind of customers you even want sometimes, right?
Yeah.
So some are more trouble than they're worth, you know. But yeah, it's where most businesses don't spend enough time looking for the easy button that they should be targeting.
Yeah,
they're just like, well, everybody could use our product. It's like, okay.
Yeah, I think the issue is that there's 100 different buttons, and you don't really know which of those 100 buttons is the easy button until you've pressed all of them multiple times and then analyze the data. Like, which one of those was the easiest product and customer, and like which one would I rather do 1,000 of on repeat, right? You just a lot of volume. It's another Alex Hormozy thing. He's like, most people just underestimate the amount of volume you need to do, whether it's cold calls or Facebook ads or emails or reaching out to other people in your situation asking for it. It's just people don't do enough volume to really have enough to analyze and then learn enough from that.
Yeah. Well, you guys really, I guess, in a sense, you have kind of two different silos, I would imagine. You have the who you're going to lend the money to silo, and you have the who you're going to get the money from silo, right? I mean, and they're obviously two completely different silos and two completely different types of marketing.
Oh yeah.
And outreach, because you know, those are very different, and you need both, because you might have a lot of money and no projects to fund, or a bunch of projects and not enough money.
Yep, it's like walking a tightrope, because even if you're not that much different, even if you've got like 2 million in projects to fund and 1 million in money, that's no good. You're gonna have to break your promise and say, oh, actually we can't give you the product now, or vice versa. You've got 2 million in money and 1 million in projects, and you've got a lot of people saying, hey Eric, where's the deals? Like, I'm ready to put my money to work, and you're just kind of stalling.
Yeah, I mean, you know, we
gotta keep it balanced.
We run out of money all the time. All the time. But you know, the difference is, it's our money, you know, so it's you know, that we're not gonna complain to ourselves, if you will. Like, we don't want very much money in the bank, because we want it out there working, right? So but it's tough when you have to pass over a deal that's tasty. You know, it checks all your boxes, and you know, the return is strong and everything else, you know, looks good from an underwriting perspective, and then you gotta say no because you're out of money. So that's tough. So I kind of mentioned this on your last meeting, because you know, sometimes we run into scenarios just like that, where it's like, hey, it's a great project, you know, from our perspective, you know, it fits our buy box, and instead of walking away, you know, I was like, I mentioned this to Justin, like, what would it look like if we said, hey guys, we got this great project, but we can't fund it. And you know, I know a little bit about your buy box. You know, you have 4 states that you're interested in, and I think, you know, I believe it always has to be first position. Am I saying that right?
That's correct. Yeah.
You know, so I suppose if it fits that buy box, then I suppose I could throw it over the wall and say, hey,
Absolutely.
you guys have any interest? Because obviously your buy box is a lot more than that, but
Sure.
you know, your tolerances for, you know, we have a whole spreadsheet that we use to analyze a deal, and you know, we punch in all the numbers, and you know, the calculator either says good deal or not a good deal. And you know, we have a lot of, you know, caveats built into our deal sheet. One of them is if it goes 3 months longer than they expect, right? Then the, you know, if it's a 120-day project and it goes 3 months longer than 120 days, are they still going to make money?
Right.
And the answer to that has to be yes, or we're not going to fund the deal.
Right.
Yeah.
Because we, you know, we want to give plenty of runway in case something happens, because stuff happens all the time.
Yep.
And if they get to a point where they're not making money and, you know, 2.5 months late, well, how interested are they going to be in taking it to the finish line? You know what I mean? So we want to make sure that incentive is high and that runway's long. We want them to make money.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
if they're not making money, then they're just they lose their motivation. They can give you the project halfway done and say, you deal with it now.
Yeah, and we don't want that. You know, we're in the process of selling a home in Detroit. It's in a nice area. It's in the university district and all that, but we didn't want the house.
Yeah.
We got the house, and this situation was a little different. The guy that has done lots of fix and flips in that area, but he went unexpectedly through a terrible divorce, and just so his motivation, he just lost interest in everything. If you can, can only imagine.
Yeah.
And so we, we took the house, and he didn't argue. He wasn't complaining. He was actually kind of glad just to be rid of it. But now I own a house in Detroit that I didn't want.
Yep.
And again, nothing wrong with the house. It's brick. It's beautiful. There's a gorgeous park right down the street from it. It's in a great area. It's all, again, you don't invest in something if one of the rules is don't invest in something if you don't want to own it.
Yeah.
Because you might. So I own it now, and I'm hopefully it'll sell here shortly. But yeah, you got to be careful and make sure things fit your buy box. And but I'm not, probably, I don't know if you guys are like this as well. I'm not in the market to own any real estate yet. I just want to fund projects and be out.
Yep.
Unlike some of the people that Kim knows, I don't care if I don't have to tell people, hey, look, I own real estate.
Right.
I don't care.
Totally get it.
There are two ways, Kevin, that you could share a deal with us. You can either send it to us as a referral with no paperwork, no effort on your part. Just, hey, send the guys our way and let them know that we might be able to fund it, right? And we'll take it from there. And then we just pay a flat referral fee. That's a $500 referral fee. The alternative is to come on board with us essentially as a connector in that instance, where you've already gathered the information you need. Now you're just going to forward that information onto us and submit it into our portal. And what we usually do, so our default is, if somebody submits as the connector, all communication goes through the connector. So we include you in the deal until the point of signing the term sheet. That's the only time we break that barrier, and we're like, okay, now we got to send this directly to the borrower, and then we go from there. But that allows the connector to essentially charge points, charge fee. So at closing, you'll get a fee for bringing that loan to us.
That's an interesting, I have a question about that.
Sure.
Because a lot of these deals that, that we would be sending, again, if it fit your states and so forth, would be with people that we have long-term relationships with.
Sure. Yeah.
So our fee structure, we already know what our fee structure is, and our fee structure could be better than yours. I don't know, but that would be a worthwhile discussion, because, if you're going to say charge, again, I hate to use numbers like this because I don't even like to say private money lender. I like to say private money partner. I don't like the word lend. With JV agreements and all, I look at ourselves as partners, not lenders. The deal pays us back, not an individual. So we really are a partner, right? I get paid back by title. I don't get paid back by Joe Smith when the project, is sold or refi or whatever it is. I get a check from the title company.
Mm-hmm.
As would you, right?
Yeah.
So it would be interesting, and I'm not saying this is the forum to do this, Justin. We can talk later, because why take a haircut on a deal if I come to you and say, look, I can get you, for instance, 7.5% a month. Why would you do it for 5 or 3 or whatever, because I already have an established relationship and an established fee.
Mm-hmm.
So it wouldn't make any sense for you to do it for less. And to me, that has value, right? Because now you're not negotiating. I've already done that based on the relationship. So it would make more sense. And again, maybe you charge a lot more than that. I don't know.
I think ours across the board would be less than that.
You know, because if it's 3 months, it's 22.5%.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So
Here's our fee.
if you're charging 15, it's like, well, there'd be no reason for you to do that, right?
Yeah. This is a view of our fee structure from our website. So it's a flat fee structure. 90 days is 10%. 120, 11.5, 150 is 13, 180 is 15, and 210 is 17. Everybody gets the 210-day loan, and then they can essentially just pay off earlier, and it has a early payoff incentive, basically. So the earlier they pay off, the less they pay.
Sure.
And then we also offer everybody a one-time extension that converts this into a monthly payment after 210 days. So if they reach 210 days and they can't quite make it, maybe they're right on the verge of cash out refi, we will give them a one-time extension, and it converts to a monthly payment at 18% annualized for a maximum total loan length of 365 days.
Gotcha. No, that's interesting.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, again, just something to chat about. I don't want to take up much more of your guys' time, and I actually have to motor myself, but it's always fun jumping on and learning.
Absolutely.
Just hearing stuff. So very cool. Appreciate you guys.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep. I was about to just excuse myself because I got to get running as well, but yeah. Thank
All
you guys
right.
so much
Have a
for
great
joining us.
weekend.
Appreciate you all.
Take care. Have a good weekend.
Thanks for joining us, Kim. Appreciate you joining and talking with us. Good luck on all those deals you're doing.
Take care.
See ya.